Hey guys, and welcome back to the Sketch Academy channel. And in this video we're going to talk about something very fundamental. We're still on the fundamental phase of this channel. We're going to talk about specifically lines and how to get clean lines and straight lines when you're sketching. Now you might ask, why would you make an entire video dedicated to line sketching? Well, the thing is, if you know how to sketch a line properly, chances are you are comfortable sketching pretty much any other product that you want. Lines and curves build up pretty much every single product that you see out there. So getting the fundamentals right when it comes to lines and curves and ellipses and all of this is very important before jumping into some more advanced stuff such as perspective and proportions and so on, which we are going to cover in the future of this channel. So what I want to share with you in this video is some simple techniques, some simple exercises to get your lines going and to get your lines flowing as well. And then we're going to talk about line shading and also sketching products using just lines as a challenge, and what type of products you can start out sketching in this exercise. And with that said, let's jump into the sketching part. Alright, so get your clean sheet of paper of your choice. It can be print paper, it can be marker paper, it can be whatever you want. I would suggest print paper since we're not, there was a circle right there, since we're not using markers in this video, but you can use whatever paper you want. So using print paper and of course the Bake Round Stick medium here as usual. So let's talk about lines right here. Now let's see what we can do. What are some exercises you can do if you're brand new to sketching and you don't know how to sketch lines? Well, a few rules are very similar to sketching ellipses, and that is you need to keep your wrist locked. So that is one very important part of any type of design sketching. Keep your wrist locked and work with your elbow. Big movements like this, it doesn't matter if you're sketching small things or big things. That's rule number one. Rule number two is keep your speed up, especially when you're sketching lines, because a line is a long straight line. So if you have any inconsistencies, you're going to see that very clearly. And if you do it slowly, so these are some fast lines right here. We have some lines that goes like this. And then if I were to do this slowly, look what happens here. You see all the small imperfections in the line. It's very hard to get this straight when you're going slow. Now, I understand that it might be comfortable doing it slow because you feel like you have a better control over the line. But I'm telling you, if you want to get straight lines, then you better start. The sooner you start practicing sketching with speed, the sooner you're going to get these clean lines here that we're talking about. Now, that's the first two rules that you kind of have to go by, is keeping the wrist locked and keeping the speed up. Here is one exercise that I like to do. I've showed this a few times before, but just put out two dots here, and then we want to try and hit this with a line. As you can see, it's not always the easiest thing to do, and of course the larger the distance between the dots, the harder it is to hit them, because the distance is obviously longer. But when you do this, you put out one dot like this, and then you put out the second dot right there. So dot number one, dot number two. And then you start go sketching over this dot number one here. And you move your eyeballs over to dot number two. So the pen is over here, but you're looking over there. And once you have the pen over number one here, you can start to kind of figure out where the line is going to go. And now I can feel the pressure. And let's see if I can hit these two dots here. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see. Almost. It's not. It's, as you can see, it's not that easy to have that type of precision when you're working with speed. But as I said, it's definitely worth it to get the lines. So let's say you want to sketch a cube. Let's make a cube down here and let's see how that is going to go. So we want to start with a cube in perspective. So let's make 2 lines like this, like that. And then we want to connect these and have a platform on the top. So let's just pick the center of these 2 right there. And then we make lines up to that point. And then we make lines down to this point. And then connecting right there. This is also a very good exercise to get your lines right and clean, is to just sketch a bunch of boxes. Because a box, as you know, is just made up of a bunch of lines. So do a bunch of boxes like this and try to get if you want to do it in this perspective or whatever perspective you want, it doesn't really matter as long as you're sketching a bunch of lines. What I would do, or what I've been doing, what I still do today when warming up, is to just take a sheet of paper like this, or in Photoshop with a tablet, and then just fill the whole page up with lines like this. And then of course you can adjust the length of the line and so on. But when you're doing this, keep those 2 rules in mind and don't deviate from them. So don't try to slow down. Keep the hand moving not as fast as you can, but don't slow down because you're feeling uncomfortable and you're feeling like you can't control your hand or something like that. Always keep the speed up when you're doing this. And one thing here I wanted to mention with this cube is if you sketch a line like this and you feel like you missed the mark, you want to adjust it, all you got to do is just, move your hand a little bit. And then as you go, you kind of figure out where the line is going. And if you do that, you can kind of cheat at the same time because you're adding line weight by doing that. So even if you miss, even if the line isn't the most perfect line, you can add thickness to it by just moving it up and down. And by doing that, it looks like you know what you're doing because you're adding line weight to the sketch. So it's all good. You are going to miss the mark a lot in the beginning, I'm sure. And that's just part of the whole process of learning this. So don't be discouraged if you're not getting very parallel lines or something, or straight lines in the beginning, because this, obviously, like anything, takes time to practice. And if you do this like on a daily basis before you start sketching whatever it is you're sketching, just take a sheet of paper and just warm up with some lines. I think one of the problems is that we sometimes want to jump into the advanced stuff before we have a foundation ready. And that doesn't just go for sketching, but it goes for a lot of things. But if we don't have, you can't build a house on a shaky foundation. It's just not gonna work. No matter how beautiful the house is or whatever, it is going to fall apart eventually. And that's the same kind of philosophy when it comes to sketching. These things, I still do these exercises today because I know how important they are for any type of sketching and the rest of what I put out. If I don't have the fundamentals in place, chances are I'm going to not produce very good quality sketches and content. And of course I don't want to do that. So I'm still to this day practicing these techniques. And I hope that this video helped you out with lines. It's not really complicated to practice lines. All you gotta do is just pick up a pen and figure out what it is you want to sketch. My suggestion would be sketching cubes because you have a bunch of lines already here, and at the same time you can practice some perspective sketching if you want to do that. But that's probably the easiest object to sketch using lines, or you can sketch houses or whatever it is you want, or you can just start by doing a random grid like this. This is also a very good exercise to start with. But if you do that every single day for a year, you're going to improve. I can promise you that. I hope this video was helpful for you. And if you liked it, hit the like button. I know these are fundamental videos and we have to cover the fundamentals first, as I mentioned before, because we have people watching these videos that have not sketched anything before, and we can't just jump into advanced stuff before we cover the fundamentals. So we're going to cover that, and then we're going to jump into perspective and car sketching and proportions and product design and all of that good stuff, which I really can't wait to get into because it's going to be so much fun. One more thing that I really wanted to mention in this video and that I almost forgot is another way of practicing sketching lines is to use something called line shading. And what that is that if you have, let's say you have a cube here, and then you fill out some shading on the sides of the cube. So you have a light source, and then you want to use only a pen to create 3 different shades of darkness by just using the big pen and just using lines. And the way you do this, the way you accomplish this, is to adjust the pressure of the pen when you're sketching, and also vary the distance between the lines, because the tighter the lines are together, the darker the shade is going to be. So determine where the light source is. So in this case, the light source is coming from the top right corner of this cube. That means that the opposite corner, that the opposite surface away from the light source will be the darkest, and the top surface is going to be the lightest. And if you practice this, the good thing about practicing this with lines is that you need to stay within the boundaries of the surface. And that is not an easy thing to do if you're just starting out. But as with always, it's going to take a while to get a hang of. But the thicker the lines, the easier it is to stay within, and the bigger margin you have to go over the lines. And even if you do go over the lines, it's not a big deal. You could just leave it as is and create a new cube and practice on a new sheet of paper to do this. But that's what I wanted to mention as well, is to do some line shading on the products that you're sketching. Maybe even do this. You can have some products that you think of, for example, a chair here, and create a chair by just using lines. So that's also a very interesting and very fun challenge to create products by just using lines. So these are just a couple of more fun techniques and a little bit more advanced than just sketching lines from one point to another. Anyway, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me today. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take it easy.